Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you ignored every red flag? I built a multi-million-dollar catering empire with these hands. For 40 years, I seasoned brisket for governors, arranged pastries for weddings across Georgia, and turned my grandmother's recipes into Atlanta's most sought-after catering company. Now I can't even control my own bank account. My son didn't just take my money, he took my name, my business, my voice, and he did it with a smile and a forged signature. While I grieved my husband in a rehabilitation facility, Julian was draining accounts, buying Miami condos, and telling his business partners I'd never fight back. But what Julian didn't know was that his tech-savvy generation wasn't the only one who understood digital footprints. Arthur and I had created something years ago, a vault he thought didn't exist, a password he never knew, and evidence he couldn't erase. If you've ever wondered how far someone would go to steal everything you built, this story will show you exactly how it happens and exactly how to stop it. The nurse slid the laminated form across the table with a smile that belonged in a funeral home. Your son is now in control of your affairs. Just sign here to acknowledge. I laughed. Not joy, not relief. The dry crack of something breaking inside a chest that had held too much weight for too long. She blinked, confused. Her pen hovered between us like a tiny sword. Ms. Monroe, do you understand what I understand perfectly. My voice came out steady, which surprised us both. My son Julian has filed papers claiming power of attorney over my finances, my business, and apparently my entire existence. You'd like me to sign this form agreeing that I'm aware of my own erasure. The antiseptic smell burned my nose. The laminated plastic felt slick under my fingertips, cheap, official, final. Outside the medication room door, other residents shuffled past in slippers that whispered against linoleum. The fluorescent bulbs overhead hummed a single flat note. These hands used to knead dough for 1,000 dinner rolls in a single morning. These hands built Monroe's table from nothing, a girl from rural North Carolina with her grandmother's recipes and a dream that refused to die. I'd catered weddings for 3 governors. I'd fed half of Atlanta's elite. I'd employed 60 people at our peak. Now these hands trembled, holding a piece of plastic that said I couldn't manage my own checkbook. The nurse's shoes squeaked as she shifted weight. Impatient. They were always impatient here. Vitals at 6, breakfast at 7:14, lukewarm and gray. Medications at noon, 4 and 9. Your life measured in beige walls and clipboard checkmarks. Ms. Monroe, I really need you to... How long have you worked here? I set the form down, unsigned. 3 years. Why does that... Do you know who I am? Not Julian's mother. Me, Adeline Monroe. Her face went blank. Polite. The look people give the elderly when they're humoring delusion. I wanted to tell her about the James Beard nomination in 2019, the write-up in Southern Living. The private dinner I'd catered for a senator who cried over my peach cobbler because it tasted like his childhood. Instead, I said, I'm not signing this. But your son has legal authority. My son has a piece of paper. I'd like to see it. It's filed with the state. I don't have access to... Then I'll wait. I folded my hands in my lap. Steady. Calm. The way I used to sit across from vendors trying to overcharge me for produce. I won't sign anything until I see the document that gave Julian Monroe control of Adeline Monroe's life. The nurse left. Her shoes squeaked down the hallway, rhythm quickening. I sat alone in the medication room. The clock on the wall read 2:47 p.m. Tuesday, March 19th, 6 weeks since Julian had driven me here in his leased Mercedes, promising this was temporary. Just until my ankle healed from the fall, just until I felt stronger. The form sat on the table, unsigned. My cardigan still smelled like Arthur's cologne. The bottle I couldn't bring myself to throw away, the scent I'd sprayed on fabric just to remember what home felt like. One signature can erase 40 years of work. Subscribe so you catch the warning signs I missed. If you won't, tell me why in the comments. I'll read every single one. Arthur used to say, Adeline, you're the smartest person in any room, but you trust with your whole heart. He'd meant it as a compliment, a warning, both. As I set the pen down without signing, I remembered something Arthur and I had created years ago, a safety net he'd insisted on when his heart started failing, a digital vault with a password only we knew. And I still remembered it. The name of our first rescue dog, Biscuit. Comment Biscuit if you'd have trusted your child with everything. Comment Vault if you'd have kept one secret back. The oatmeal arrived at 7:14 a.m., lukewarm and gray. I used to serve governor's brisket that melted on the tongue. Now I couldn't even salt my own breakfast. My room was 12 feet by 10, beige walls, a single window overlooking the parking lot where Mercedes and Lexus SUVs dropped off their inconvenient elderly between 9 and noon. A vinyl armchair that squeaked when you shifted weight, a nightstand where the unsigned form sat like an accusation. Vitals at 6 a.m. Blood pressure, temperature, the AIDS chipper. How are we feeling today? As if my feelings were a collective enterprise. Meals on trays. Coffee that tasted like the metal urn it came from. The medication cart rolling down the hallway at noon, 4 and 9, dispensing pills in tiny paper cups. I sat in the vinyl armchair and watched other residents shuffle past. Mrs. Kim from 14B, who used to be a concert pianist. Mr. Soto from 19A, a former pilot. All of us reduced to room numbers and dietary restrictions. The meal cart squeaked. Everything here squeaked. Shoes, chairs, wheels, doors, a symphony of institutional efficiency. I wore Arthur's cardigan, navy blue, soft from a decade of washing. If I closed my eyes, I could almost smell his cologne beneath the facility's industrial detergent. Almost hear his voice. Adeline, what's your next move? My next move. That's how he'd taught me to think during our 42 years of marriage. Not what happened to you, but what's your next move? The coffee went cold in my hands. I didn't remember picking it up. On the nightstand, the unsigned form, my reading glasses, the facility handbook with its pastel cover and cheerful lies about community and independence. Through the window, March rain, gray sky, a woman in scrubs running to her car, jacket over her head. I used to plan menus for 500 people, coordinate delivery schedules across 3 counties, negotiate with vendors in 2 languages. Now I needed permission to access my own bank account. The door opened without knocking. It never did here. Maya stepped inside, 26, nursing school at night, the only aide who called me Ms. Monroe instead of Julian's mother, or worse, Adeline, with that patronizing familiarity strangers use on the old. You didn't eat breakfast, she said. I wasn't hungry. You need to keep your strength up. For what? The question came out sharper than I'd intended. Maya closed the door. Quiet. Deliberate. Ms. Monroe, that form you didn't sign. You were right not to. My hand stopped shaking. I've worked here 3 years, she said. I've seen this before. Family members who show up with paperwork, residents who suddenly can't access their own accounts. She glanced at the door. It's not always legal. That night, after vitals and medications and lights out at 10, Maya knocked. Soft. 3 taps. Ms. Monroe, I'm not supposed to do this. She slid a tablet under a folded towel. 30 minutes. That's all I can give you. Ever felt invisible in a room full of people? That's what they count on. My hands shook so badly I mistyped the password twice. BISCUIT. The screen blinked once, then opened like a door I thought had been locked forever. 11:47 p.m. The tablet glowed blue in the dark. Maya stood by the door, listening for footsteps in the hallway. My heart hammered against ribs that felt too thin, too breakable. The digital lockbox loaded slowly. Arthur had set this up 5 years ago when his cardiologist started using words like progressive and irreversible. Just in case, he'd said. just so someone can't rewrite our story when I'm gone. The screen filled with folders, tax documents, insurance policies, business licenses, and there, dated 5 years prior, power of attorney. A. Monroe and A. Monroe, original. I clicked it. The PDF loaded in sections, header first, then body, then signatures at the bottom. Arthur's signature. Careful, slightly shaky from the tremor that had started in his left hand. My signature beside his, bold and sure because I'd signed 10,000 invoices with that exact motion. Below our names, the secondary agent designation. Not Julian, Camilla, my niece. The paralegal in Chicago with a spine like steel rebar and a heart that matched. Witness signatures. Notary seal. Date, September 12th, 2020. Ms. Monroe, Maya's whisper cut through the silence. You okay? There's another document, I said. The one Julian filed. Can you? She was already pulling it up on her own phone, fingers flying across the screen. The state database is public. Give me a second. The second document appeared. Same header, same legal language. Different date, March 3rd, 2025. My signature looked wrong, the loop on the A too wide. The final E in Monroe slanting left when mine always slanted right. 40 years of muscle memory doesn't lie. The notary seal was blurred, pixelated, like it had been scanned and rescanned until the details dissolved. But the document properties, that's where Julian made his mistake. I clicked. The metadata panel opened. Created, March 3rd, 2025, 11:34 a.m. Device, MacBook Pro. Julian, Monroe location, Miami. FL application, Adobe Acrobat Pro. The exact day I was admitted to this facility. The exact day Julian had called me from Miami, voice dripping concern, asking how I was settling in. He'd been at his laptop, creating a forgery. While I sat in this beige room counting ceiling tiles. They assume you won't look at the fine print. Subscribe. I'll show you exactly where to look. I screenshotted everything. The original document. The forged one. The metadata showing creation date, device, location. Arthur's margin notes on the original PDF. Camilla trustworthy, detail-oriented, will protect Adeline. My husband had known. 3 years before he died, he'd known that someone might try this. Maybe not Julian specifically, but someone. Maya handed me her phone. You need to call someone. Tonight. I found Camila's number in my contacts. My thumb hovered over the call button. 2:17 a.m. in Chicago. I pressed call. She answered on the first ring. Aunt Adeline? Her voice was alert, sharp. What's wrong? Everything, I said. And I need you on the next flight to Atlanta. Pause here. Write down the 3 red flags. Wrong signature, blurred seal, impossible timestamp. You'll need them. That son of a... Camilla's voice cracked through the phone speaker. Aunt Adeline, I'm on the next flight. Do not sign anything. Do not speak to Julian. Do you hear me? Through the phone, I could hear drawers slamming, the zip of a suitcase. Camilla in motion was a force of nature, 34 years old, 5'2", and absolutely nobody's victim. There's a 6:45 a.m. out of O'Hare, she said. I'll be at that facility by noon. Meanwhile, I'm texting someone. Elias Stanton. You know that name? No. You will. He's a legal aid attorney in Atlanta. Specializes in elder financial abuse. He's taken down 3 law firms and a sitting county commissioner. If Julian forged documents, Elias will bury him in motions. Dawn broke through my window, pale gray bleeding into pink. Maya had left 20 minutes ago, the tablet hidden under my mattress. The screenshots lived in a cloud folder Camilla and I now both could access. My phone buzzed, conference call incoming. Ms. Monroe, a man's voice, quiet. Southern accent softened by education. I'm Elias Stanton. Camilla just sent me your documents. I've been reading for the past 15 minutes. Do you have a few moments to talk? I have nothing but moments. Good, because we need to move fast. Papers rustled on his end. Your son filed this fraudulent power of attorney on March 3rd. Today is March 19th, 16 days. In that time, has he accessed any of your accounts? I don't know. He said he'd handle the paperwork after my fall. I trusted. Stop. Not unkind. Firm. Trust is what they count on. We're going to pull every bank record, every transaction, every transfer since March 1st. Camilla's already drafting the document requests. I can do that, Camilla cut in. I've filed subpoenas before. We'll have statements by end of business today. Elias continued, methodical. We're also filing an emergency motion for asset preservation. If there's money to recover, we freeze it before he moves it offshore or into cryptocurrency. The metadata you found, that's our smoking gun. Documents don't lie about when and where they were created. What do I do? My voice sounded small. 86 years of living, and I sounded small. You do nothing, Elias said. You rest, you eat. You let Maya know she might be called as a witness, and you do not, under any circumstances, speak to Julian without one of us present. Understood? Understood. Ms. Monroe? His voice shifted. Quieter. I've seen this pattern before. Your son isn't just stealing from you. He's already spending it. Men like Julian don't forge documents for future plans. They forge them because they need money now. We need to move fast. The call ended. I sat in the vinyl armchair watching sunrise paint the parking lot gold. Camilla was coming. Elias was moving. The evidence was documented. For the first time in 6 weeks, I let myself hope. Flag these two names, Camila and Elias. One brings rage, one brings precision. Which would you call first? Elias didn't waste time on pleasantries. Your business accounts. When was the last time you saw a statement? I couldn't remember. Julian said he'd handle the paperwork after my fall. He'd said it with such concern, such filial devotion, that I'd handed over passwords like they were recipes. Elias's office was small, downtown Atlanta, 3rd floor of a building that had seen better decades. Camilla sat beside me, laptop open, fingers drumming the table. She'd arrived at noon exactly, swept me out of the facility for a medical appointment, and driven straight here. Elias spread bank records across the desk. Yellow highlighter marked the wounds. March 3rd, wire transfer, $47,000. Destination, South Beach Luxury Condos, Miami. My stomach dropped. March 18th. Electronic transfer, $83,000. Destination, Crypto Venture Capital, LLC. I did the math automatically. $83,000 would cater 220 weddings, would pay my entire staff for 3 months, would feed 1,000 people. April 2nd. Elias's finger moved down the page. $125,000. Same-day authorization. Julian Monroe. POA. April 2nd. The day before, Julian drove me to the luxury rehabilitation facility in his leased Mercedes. Total siphoned in 6 weeks, Elias said. $340,000. The number sat in the air like smoke, like something burning that you can't quite see, but know will destroy you. Camilla's hands had stopped moving. That son of a... There's more. Elias slid another paper across. Printed emails. Subject line. Inheritance timeline. Liquidation strategy. My vision blurred. I blinked until the words focused. Mother's accounts fully accessible as of 3/1. Liquidation Phase 1 complete. Phase 2, property sale, initiates once rehab placement finalizes. Inheritance timeline, 8 to 12 months. A response from someone named Liam. You're sure she won't fight? Julian's reply, she's 68, grieving, and trusts me completely. This is clean, clean. This happens in 30 days if nobody's watching. Subscribe to learn the documents that stop it cold. My hands gripped the desk edge. The wood grain pressed lines into my palms. Real, solid. Something to hold while the world rewrote itself. He planned this. I said. Before the fall, before Arthur died, he planned this. The emails date back to February, Elias confirmed. He registered Crypto Venture Capital on March 1st. The condo purchase was in negotiation by mid-February. Your fall was February 28th. My fall. The words tasted wrong. I tripped on the kitchen mat. It was an accident. Camilla and Elias exchanged a look. Maybe, Elias said carefully, or maybe an opportunity he'd been waiting for. Either way, he used it. The facility admission, the forged POA, the account access. It's a pattern, premeditated, constructed. I thought about Julian's daily calls after Arthur died, the concern in his voice, the gentle suggestions that I was working too hard, that I needed rest, that he could help with the business details. I thought he loved me. He'd been calculating liquidation timelines. But the bank records revealed something else, Elias said. Emails Julian forwarded to his business partners. We have the whole thread. He's been planning this for months, maybe years. This isn't sloppy work, Elias said, holding the forged document up to the light. This is deliberate, constructed, which means he'll have covered other tracks. Late afternoon sun cut through the blinds in Elias's office. Camilla sat beside me, her laptop open to a spreadsheet tracking every transaction Julian had made. The forged power of attorney lay on the desk between us like evidence at a crime scene. Elias's finger traced the notary's seal. Look here, commission number 847NC 2019. I ran it. That notary's license expired in December 2023. This document is dated March 2025. Legally, this seal means nothing. So it's fake, Camilla said. Worse, it's lazy. Elias flipped to the second page. Witness signatures, 2 names, Laura Bennett and Nicholas Quinn. I searched Georgia voter records, property records, business licenses. Neither name has a Georgia address. They might not even be real people. My throat went tight. Julian had invented witnesses. Now look at the filing time stamp. Elias pulled up the courthouse database on his computer. Document filed March 3rd, Sunday, 7:43 p.m., except the Fulton County Courthouse closes at 5 p.m. on weekdays. It's not open on Sundays. Someone would need electronic filing access, which Julian doesn't have as a civilian. So how did he file it? I asked. He didn't. Someone else did. Probably a paralegal at a document service who didn't ask questions. They filed it remotely after hours, without verifying anything. Elias's jaw tightened. That's another person who's going to answer questions under oath. Camilla typed notes rapid fire. What about the capacity verification? Georgia law requires... Exactly. Elias cut her off. Georgia law requires any power of attorney executed while someone is receiving medical care to include a capacity assessment by facility staff or an independent physician. Where's that assessment, Ms. Monroe? There isn't one. No one evaluated me. Because you were asleep when this was supposedly signed. Which brings us to the fourth problem. Elias tapped his pen against the desk. No hospital or facility staff present. No witnesses who actually exist in Georgia. No valid notary. Filed at an impossible time on an impossible day. He pulled out a legal pad and started drafting. His handwriting was small, precise, every word carrying weight. I'm filing an emergency motion for asset preservation and forensic document review. We're asking the court to freeze all your accounts, reverse any transactions made under the fraudulent POA, and appoint a neutral conservator until this gets resolved. How long will that take? My voice sounded smaller than I wanted. If the judge sees what I see, fast. Elias signed the bottom of the motion and dated it. This level of fraud doesn't require deep analysis. It's right there on the surface. Any competent judge will grant the freeze. And if they don't, then we appeal. But Judge Evelyn Reed is hearing emergency motions this week. She's smart, fair. She won't let this stand. Elias filed electronically at 4:52 p.m. The confirmation screen blinked green. Motion submitted. Emergency hearings take 48 to 72 hours, he said. If the judge sees what I see, Julian's access to your accounts will be frozen by Wednesday morning. I watched the confirmation number appear on screen. Case 2025 CV 8843. My life reduced to a court filing. My son's betrayal now public record. Predict. Will the judge grant the freeze before Julian liquidates everything? I found the note Arthur had written in the Digital Vault's memo field, buried below the legal files. Adeline, if you're reading this alone, someone tried to rewrite our story. Don't let them. My hands shook as I read his words. Evening light filled my facility room with orange and gold. Maya had brought my dinner tray 20 minutes ago. Chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, but I couldn't eat. Arthur's memo continued. I'm writing this in November 2022. My doctor says I have maybe 2 years. You'll outlive me, Adeline. You're stronger than you think. But strength makes people jealous, even family. I scrolled down. More instructions, more warnings written 3 years before he died. The original POA names Camilla as your secondary agent for a reason. She has no financial stake in our business. She won't benefit from your decline. That's intentional protection. Maya sat on the edge of my bed, listening. The document includes survivor protections. I read aloud. My control of Monroe's table can only transfer to Camilla if I'm declared incompetent by 2 independent physicians and a judge. Not one doctor, not family opinion. 2 doctors and a court order. Arthur had circled the next phrase twice in red ink on the saved PDF. No family member with financial interest may serve as agent. He knew, Maya whispered. He knew someone might try this. He knew people change when money's involved. My voice cracked. Even your own children. I remembered the night Arthur wrote this. We'd been sitting at our kitchen table, the oak one we'd bought at an estate sale in 1987. He'd insisted on adding these protections. I'd thought he was being paranoid. Julian is a good son, I'd said. Today he is, Arthur had replied, but grief and money make people strangers. Now, 3 years after his death, Arthur's words reached across the distance between living and gone, still trying to protect me. The memo ended with a single line. Don't let anyone erase what we built together. You earned every penny. You deserve every protection. Fight for yourself the way you'd fight for someone you love. A. I forwarded everything to Elias. Subject line. Arthur knew. He protected me before I even needed it. Now we use his blueprint. Maya squeezed my hand. Your husband was a smart man. He was the best man I ever knew. I wiped my eyes with the sleeve of his cardigan, and he's still taking care of me. The original power of attorney, the real one, the legal one, had been Arthur's final gift, a shield against exactly the kind of betrayal Julian had attempted. My husband had seen the future. He documented protections. He made sure I wouldn't face this fight unarmed. The email arrived at 9:17 a.m., Wednesday. Subject, Emergency Motion 2025-843. Body, 1 word. Granted. I didn't cheer. I exhaled for the first time in 6 weeks. I sat in the facility's common room. Other residents played cards at a corner table. The television murmured news no one watched. My phone screen glowed with that single perfect word. Granted. Camilla called seconds later. Aunt Adeline, did you see? I saw. Elias just called me. Judge Evelyn Reed didn't even schedule a hearing. She reviewed the motion, looked at the evidence, and signed the order this morning. Full asset freeze. Neutral conservator appointed. Forensic examination ordered. My hands gripped the phone. What does that mean? It means Julian's access to your accounts is terminated immediately. Every transaction he made under the fake POA gets reversed. The $340,000 is recoverable. He can't touch another penny. I closed my eyes. Relief hit like warm water. All pending transactions are frozen, Camilla continued. If he tried to move money yesterday, it's blocked. If he has checks outstanding, they'll bounce. Judge Evelyn Reed appointed Dr. Iris Pham as temporary conservator. She's a forensic accountant who specializes in financial elder abuse. She'll trace every dollar. Through the phone, I heard Elias's voice in the background. Camilla relayed his message. He says Judge Evelyn Reed's order was decisive. Quote, "The presented evidence demonstrates clear and convincing fraud. Asset preservation granted in full." The common room felt different, lighter. The air moved easier. One judge can undo months of theft in one order. Subscribe. You'll learn which motions work fastest. Still not subscribing? Tell me why. 10 minutes later, the facility front desk called my room. "Ms. Monroe, you have a voicemail. Your son called. He sounds—" The receptionist paused. "Upset." I listened to Julian's message on speaker. Maya stood beside me. His voice had changed. The smooth, concerned tone was gone. Now he sounded raw, angry. "Mother, I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to stop this immediately. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to protect our family's assets from people who are clearly manipulating you. Call me back, now." Our family's assets. Not my assets. Ours. Maya's jaw tightened. He really thought he'd get away with this. My phone buzzed again. "Elias, Ms. Monroe, congratulations. But I need to prepare you. He's going to escalate. Men like Julian don't accept loss quietly. Expect a counter-move within 48 hours. They'll probably claim you're incompetent, that Camilla is manipulating you, something to discredit the evidence." "Let him try," I said. "We have Arthur's blueprint. We have the metadata. We have the truth." "Yes," Elias said. "We do." Camilla's laptop screen showed Julian's Instagram, a rooftop infinity pool overlooking Miami Beach, champagne glass in hand, caption reading, "Building the Future." The post was time-stamped 2 days after he'd drained $83,000 from my business account. We sat in Elias's conference room. Thursday afternoon. Rain streaked the windows. "He's been living like this for weeks," Camilla said, scrolling through posts. "Rooftop parties. Business lunches at restaurants where appetizers cost $60. Bottle service at clubs." Each photo felt like a slap. My son. The boy I'd raised. The man I'd sent to private school and college, celebrating with money he'd stolen from me while I ate lukewarm oatmeal in a facility room. Elias slid a printout across the table. Business filings for Crypto Venture Capital, LLC, registered March 1st with the Florida Secretary of State. Julian listed as managing partner. 2 other partners, Liam Foster and Zara Khan. "What kind of business?" I asked. "Hard to tell. The filing says cryptocurrency investment and venture capital. But there's no website, no clients listed, no actual business activity I can find." Elias's finger tapped the page. What I did find were the emails. He opened his laptop. Through legal subpoena, he'd obtained email exchanges between Julian and his partners. The first email dated February 23rd, "Mother's accounts fully accessible as of 3/1. POA filing scheduled. Liquidation Phase 1. $350K target transferred in stages to avoid flags. Phase 2, property sale. Initiates once rehab placement finalizes. Inheritance timeline, 8 to 12 months if we manage her access carefully." I read it twice, 3 times. The words didn't change. Manage her access carefully, like I was a problem to solve, a resource to extract. Liam's reply, "You're sure she won't fight? Old people can be stubborn." Julian's response made my stomach turn. "She's 68, grieving and trusts me completely. After Dad died, she's been lost. This is clean. By the time she realizes anything, we'll have the business liquidated and she'll be convinced it was her idea." "Clean," I whispered. He called stealing from his mother clean. Camilla's hands had curled into fists. Elias scrolled to another email. This one's from March 7th, 4 days after the forged POA was filed. "First transfer complete, $47K to SB Luxury Condos. My deposit on the penthouse. Second transfer queued, $83K to crypto venture operational account. Mother completely unaware. Facility staff treating me like devoted son. This is easier than I thought. Zara's response. What if family members ask questions? Julian. Camilla's in Chicago. Minimal contact. No other close family. I'm the only child. The story is simple. I'm managing mom's affairs while she recovers. Everyone believes it because it sounds reasonable. The final email dated the week of my fall. Opportunity accelerated. Ankle injury, tummy, perfect admission timing. Facility placement confirmed for Friday. Once she's settled, we move on property listing. Target sale date June 1st, full liquidation by July. He planned this, I said. Every step. The timing wasn't luck. Elias closed the laptop. The phrase liquidate silently before any family notices appears in 3 separate emails. That's premeditation. That's conspiracy. In Georgia, that's criminal. Camilla stared at the screen. He's posting champagne photos while plotting to sell her house. I looked at Julian's Instagram again. His smile, his expensive suit, his future built on my erasure. Screenshot that phrase in your mind. Liquidate silently. It returns. Comment if you've ever seen someone's public life hide their private crimes. Maya's voice was barely a whisper. 7:43 p.m., Sunday, March 3rd. I was working that shift. Ms. Monroe, you were asleep. No one came to your room with papers to sign. No one. The facility break room was empty, except for us. 11 p.m. Maya had finished her shift but stayed. She sat across from Adeline, Camilla, and Elias, her work planner open on the table. Her hands shook slightly, but her voice stayed steady. I remember that night because it was slow. Only 12 residents on our wing. I did medication rounds at 8 p.m. You took your blood pressure pill and the sleep aid your doctor prescribed. By 8:20, you were asleep. She pointed to her handwritten notes. Neat, careful entries in blue ink. A.M. Medicated 8 p.m. Asleep by 8:20 p.m. Vitals check 10 p.m. No disturbance, sleeping soundly. I checked on you at 10. You were still asleep. I documented it. She tapped the page. I document everything. That's how I keep my residents safe. Elias leaned forward. Maya, the forged power of attorney shows a signing time of 7:43 p.m. that Sunday. You're saying... I'm saying it's impossible. She was in bed, medicated, asleep. I was assigned to her wing all evening. If someone had come to her room with legal documents, I would have seen them. I would have been present. Georgia law requires a facility witness for any legal signing during medical care. Camilla pulled up the facility access logs on her laptop. I subpoenaed these yesterday, Sunday, March 3rd. Last visitor entry, 5:47 p.m. Signed out at 6:12 p.m. After that, nothing. The building was locked. No one entered after 6. Maya nodded. Security locks the main entrance at 6 on weekends. After that, only staff can enter with badge access. The logs don't lie. She slid 3 items across the table, her work planner showing her assigned to my wing, printed facility access logs showing no visitors after 6 p.m., her handwritten shift notes, time-stamped and initialed. I won't let him erase you, Maya said. Her voice cracked slightly. I've seen this before with other residents, family members who show up with paperwork, signatures that appear on documents people don't remember signing, access to accounts that suddenly changes hands. She looked directly at me. Someone has to speak up. I'm speaking up. Elias added her testimony to his case file. Maya, you understand what this means? You'll likely be called to testify. Julian's attorneys will try to discredit you. I understand, but I took an oath to protect my residents. That includes protecting them from their own families when necessary. She straightened her shoulders. I have my planner, I have the logs, I have my notes. The timeline doesn't lie. One person's courage can dismantle a perfect lie. Subscribe to see how witnesses change everything. If you won't, tell me what would make you speak up. Elias closed his laptop. This isn't just fraud anymore. This is elder exploitation with premeditation. Georgia prosecutes this criminally. If we wanted, we could refer this to the district attorney. Maya's testimony had just transformed everything. The truth had a witness. Is this enough to challenge the POA and reclaim everything, or do we need more? Vote below. Julian's attorney sent a letter on ivory stationery. Polished and cold. Cease all accusations or face defamation litigation. Our response was shorter, sharper, and backed by 47 pages of exhibits. Friday morning, Elias's office. Rain hammered the windows. The letter had arrived by courier at 8 a.m., addressed to Adeline Monroe, C.O. Elias Stanton, Sesco. Julian had hired Clark & Whitmore, one of Atlanta's most expensive law firms, the kind that charges $700 an hour and decorates with marble. Elias read it aloud. Our client, Julian Monroe, categorically denies all allegations of fraud, financial exploitation, or improper conduct. Ms. Adeline Monroe is demonstrably mentally diminished and has been unduly influenced by opportunistic family members seeking financial gain. Continued false accusations constitute defamation per se. Cease immediately or face civil litigation. Camilla's laugh was sharp. Mentally diminished. She found the digital vault. She documented everything. She remembered a password from 15 years ago. They're desperate, Elias said. This letter is fear dressed up in legal language. He opened his laptop and started typing. Here's what we're sending back. The rebuttal packet took 2 hours to assemble. Elias worked methodically, tab by tab. Exhibit A. Original power of attorney, notarized 2020, naming Camilla as secondary agent. Arthur's signature. Mine, legal, valid. Exhibit B. Forensic analysis of Julian's document showing digital creation on March 3, 2025, at 11:34 a.m. in Miami. No physical signing, no witnesses present, impossible timeline. Exhibit C. Bank records, $340,000. Withdrawals authorized by forged POA, dates, amounts, destinations, every theft documented. Exhibit D. Julian's emails to business partners. Liquidation Phase 1 complete. She's 68, grieving, and trusts me completely. Premeditation in his own words. Exhibit E. Maya's testimony, work planner, facility access logs, handwritten shift notes, proof I was asleep when the document was supposedly signed. Exhibit F. 2 independent physician evaluations completed this week. Dr. Patricia Morrison, geriatric specialist. Ms. Monroe demonstrates full mental capacity, excellent recall, and clear decision-making ability. Dr. James Chen, neurologist. No cognitive impairment detected. Patient is lucid, oriented, and competent. Elias's cover letter was 1 page. Professional. Lethal. To counsel for Julian Monroe. Your client's allegations are contradicted by documentary evidence, witness testimony, and forensic analysis. Ms. Monroe's mental capacity has been independently verified by 2 physicians. Your client's power of attorney is demonstrably fraudulent. Enclosed, 47 pages of exhibits proving fraud, theft, and elder exploitation. We welcome public litigation. Discovery will be illuminating. Final line. Silence isn't surrender. It's strategy. See you in court. Elias Stanton, attorney at law. He filed it electronically and sent a hard copy by courier. Julian's attorney responded in 90 minutes. Subject, Monroe Matter. Proposed resolution. Our client wishes to resolve this matter privately and amicably in the best interests of family harmony. Translation. They knew they'd lose publicly. Camilla read it twice. He's folding. Julian is folding. Elias nodded. They saw the exhibits. They know we have everything. If this goes to trial, Julian doesn't just lose financially. He faces criminal charges. His business partners face conspiracy charges. Everyone goes down. I stared at the response email. No apology, no admission, just resolve privately. But privately meant surrender. Ever been told to back down when you had receipts? Drop the line you'd send back. Maya held the phone steady while I looked into the camera. No makeup, no script, just me, Adeline Monroe, and the truth. My name is Adeline Monroe. I built Monroe's Table from nothing. My son tried to erase me. Here's the proof. Thursday afternoon, 2 p.m. Natural light streamed through my facility room window. Maya had stacked 3 books on the nightstand and balanced her phone on top, camera aimed at my armchair. I wore Arthur's navy cardigan, the one that still smelled like him if I pressed the collar to my face. On the table beside me, both power of attorney documents side by side, bank statements with highlighted withdrawals, printed emails. Maya's planner opened to March 3rd. I'm 68 years old, I said to the camera. For 40 years, I ran a successful catering business in Atlanta. I fed governors. I catered weddings for hundreds of families. I employed 60 people. I built something that mattered. My voice stayed calm, steady, the way I used to sound in business meetings when I was negotiating contracts. 6 weeks ago, my son Julian filed a power of attorney claiming control over my finances. I didn't sign it. I was asleep in this facility when it was supposedly witnessed. The signature isn't mine. I held up both documents to the camera. This is the original POA my late husband and I created in 2020. Legal, notarized, naming my niece Camila as secondary agent. This is the document Julian filed, different signature. Expired notary seal, fake witnesses, created on his laptop in Miami while I was 3 states away. I set them down and picked up the bank statements. In 6 weeks, Julian stole $340,000 from my business accounts, $47,000 for a Miami condo, $83,000 for a crypto venture that doesn't exist, $125,000 the day before he admitted me here. I showed the highlighted withdrawals to the camera. Let the numbers speak. Here are his emails to business partners. I read them aloud, slowly. Mother's accounts fully accessible. Liquidation phase 1 complete. She's 68, grieving, and trusts me completely. This is clean. My voice didn't waver. I refused to give him my tears on camera. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm not asking for justice. I already got that. I'm showing you how erasure happens, how someone can forge documents, drain accounts, and strip you of autonomy while smiling and calling it love. I picked up Maya's planner. This is Maya's work log from March 3rd, the night I was supposedly signing documents. She documented that I was asleep, medicated. The facility access logs show no visitors after 6 p.m. The document says 7:43 p.m. I set it down and looked directly into the camera. Check your parents' accounts. Check your grandparents' documents. Ask to see the paperwork. Verify the signatures. Look at the metadata. Don't assume love means honesty. I paused. Let the silence hold. I'm showing you this so you can stop it before it happens to someone you love. That's all. Maya stopped recording. 9 minutes, 42 seconds. Ms. Monroe, that was perfect. Upload it, I said. She typed the title, How My Son Forged Documents to Steal My Business, Adeline Monroe's Story. Published at 2:47 p.m., by midnight the video had 340,000 views. Local news had called. Julian's business partners had started deleting their social media accounts. The truth had gone viral. Would you go public with your family's betrayal or handle it privately? This choice changes everything. Comment your answer. Julian's statement came through his attorney at 9 a.m. Friday. No confession, no apology. Just corporate speak. Mr. Monroe is stepping back to focus on personal matters and protect family privacy. Elias forwarded it with a single line. They're offering settlement terms. I read the proposal in my facility room. Camilla sat beside me. Maya had brought coffee, real coffee, not the facility's metal-tasting version. The terms were complete surrender dressed in legal language. Julian relinquishes all claims to Adeline Monroe's assets, business interests, and property. Stolen funds, $340,000. Returned within 30 days via verified bank transfer. Julian resigns from any involvement in Monroe's table, effective immediately. Julian withdraws the fraudulent power of attorney and ceases all claims of authority. In exchange, Adeline Monroe agrees not to pursue criminal charges or civil damages beyond recovery of stolen funds. "This is total victory," Elias said over speakerphone. "You get everything back." He walks away. No trial uncertainty. Clean finish. But I wanted one more thing. I want a written admission that the POA was invalid. I want it in writing that I was right. Silence on the line. Then Elias. "That's a reasonable ask. Let me request it." 2 hours later, the admission arrived. Same ivory stationery, different tone. The power of attorney filed March 3, 2025, under case reference 2025, POA 8847, is hereby acknowledged as void and without legal effect. Adeline Monroe retains full legal and financial autonomy. All prior claims of authority are withdrawn. Clark and Whitmore, LLP, on behalf of Julian Monroe. No apology, no explanation, but acknowledgement, validation, written proof that I'd been right all along. "It's over," Camilla said. "You won." I held the letter. Expensive paper, formal language, my vindication typed in 12-point font. That evening, Camilla's phone buzzed. A forwarded email, leaked by Liam Foster, Julian's business partner, who wanted distance from the scandal. Subject: she had everything documented. I underestimated her. First line: the old woman knew exactly what she was doing. Julian had written it to Liam and Zara at 11:34 p.m. Thursday, after my video reached 200,000 views. I thought grief made her weak. I thought she'd trust family without question. I thought erasing her from paperwork would be simple. I was wrong about all of it. She documented everything. She remembered everything. She fought back. My attorney says the video is devastating. The evidence is airtight. They're advising full settlement to avoid criminal prosecution. This is over. I lost. Camilla read it aloud. Her voice carried satisfaction. "The old woman," I repeated. "He still doesn't say my name." But he'd said the important part. I won. Pursue full criminal prosecution or take the settlement and reclaim your life. What would you choose? The keys felt heavier than I remembered. I stood outside Monroe's table for the first time in 3 months, and the kitchen windows still smelled like rosemary and hope. Early Saturday morning, April sky, pale blue and clean. Camilla stood to my left, Maya to my right. The facility had discharged me Friday afternoon with a folder full of paperwork and a handshake from the director who suddenly remembered my name. The commercial kitchen sat in northwest Atlanta, a converted warehouse I'd leased in 1992. Red brick, industrial windows, a hand-painted sign that needed touching up but still read, "Monroe's Table, Atlanta's finest catering since 1985. I unlocked the door. The deadbolt clicked. The door swung open. Inside, exactly as I'd left it. Stainless steel counters gleaming under overhead lights, industrial ovens cold but clean, my grandmother's recipe binder on the office desk, pages marked with butter stains and love. The business had been placed in receivership during the legal battle, frozen, preserved, protected. Now it was mine again. I walked through slowly. My footsteps echoed. 3 months of silence. The walk-in cooler, empty but scrubbed clean. The prep stations, waiting. My favorite chef's knife in its wooden block. Blade sharp because I never stored it dull. Arthur's apron hanging on the hook by the back door. Blue canvas with Monroe's Table, embroidered in gold thread. I touched the apron. Let my fingers trace the stitching. "What's first?" Camilla asked. "Work." I opened my grandmother's recipe binder. "Your firm needs a celebration lunch. 40 people, Tuesday. My specialty, herb-crusted salmon, roasted vegetables, my grandmother's dinner rolls." Maya smiled. "You're already taking orders?" "I never stopped taking orders. I just couldn't fill them." I started making a list. Salmon fillets, fresh herbs, good butter, flour for the rolls. Now I can. The heat kicked on, the building warming, life returning. I prepped that afternoon. My hands remembered everything. The motion of the knife against the cutting board, the smell of rising dough, the weight of the rolling pin, muscle memory from 40 years of feeding people. I rebuilt what my son tried to destroy, but only because I documented everything first. Subscribe to protect what you've built. If documentation feels like paranoia, comment why. By evening, salmon marinated in herbs and lemon. Dough rose in covered bowls, vegetables chopped and ready. The kitchen smelled like itself again. In the office, filing through old tax returns, I found an envelope tucked behind 2019's receipts. Arthur's handwriting on the front. For Adeline. Open if I'm gone and you need strength. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside, our original business plan. The one we'd written together in 1985 at our kitchen table, dreaming of what Monroe's table could become. Arthur's handwriting in the margins. My notes in different colored ink. And a note card dated November 2022. Adeline, you've always been stronger than you think. You just forget sometimes. I never forgot. I pressed the card to my chest, let myself cry in the empty office. Outside the window, spring bulbs pushed through soil in the planter boxes. Green shoots, new growth, beginning again. What would you preserve for a future crisis you hope never comes? Share with someone who needs to hear this. They didn't applaud loudly at Camilla's office luncheon. They nodded, the kind of nods people give when they finally understand something true. Tuesday afternoon, Camilla's Chicago law firm, 20th floor, windows overlooking Lake Michigan. 40 legal professionals gathered in the conference room for what they thought was just another catered lunch. I'd flown in Monday night. Brought everything in insulated carriers. Set up in their break room at noon while they finished morning meetings. Herb-crusted salmon, perfectly flaky. Roasted vegetables with balsamic glaze. My grandmother's dinner rolls still warm, butter melting into golden crust. Spring salad with strawberries and candied pecans. I didn't give a speech, didn't announce myself. I simply arranged the food with the precision of 40 years, making sure each dish was perfect. Each plate balanced, each detail intentional. One attorney approached while I was setting out dessert. Mid-50s, sharp suit, kind eyes. Ms. Monroe, I'm Helena Petrov. I watched your video. My mother is 73. Because of you, I'm reviewing her accounts this weekend. I handed her a business card, Elias Stanton's contact information written on the back in my handwriting. Just in case, I said. Prevention is easier than recovery. She took it, held it like it mattered. Thank you, really. 3 more attorneys stopped me before I left. Same story, aging parents, concern, gratitude. My video had traveled further than I'd imagined. Camilla walked me to the elevator. You did something important, Aunt Adeline, not just for yourself, for everyone watching. I just told the truth. That's the important part. After service, I stepped outside into April air. Chicago, wind off the lake, cool and clean. I wore a small enamel pin on my collar, a golden biscuit commissioned by Camilla last week, named after the password that saved everything. After the dog Arthur and I had rescued in 1989, who'd lived 14 years and died in my arms. Biscuit, the password, the memory. The key that unlocked proof when I needed it most. I walked 3 blocks to Millennium Park, sat on a bench, watched people pass, families, couples, elderly men feeding pigeons, life continuing. My phone buzzed, message from Maya. First week back at Monroe's table. How does it feel? I typed, like coming home after being told home didn't exist anymore. She replied with a heart emoji, open sky, cool spring air. The scent of rosemary still on my hands from this morning's prep. My story, finally written in ink that won't be forged, in a voice that won't be erased. I am Adeline Monroe. I built a multi-million-dollar catering empire from my grandmother's recipes and my own determination. I survived my husband's death. I survived my son's betrayal. I survived erasure. I built something that mattered. And no one, not even my own son, could take that truth away. The sky stretched wide above Chicago, endless, open, mine. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more true stories of courage, justice, and people who refuse to be silenced. Tell me in the comments, which moment hit you hardest? And remember, the most powerful weapon against erasure isn't rage. It's documentation and a voice that refuses to stay quiet.